All right, welcome everyone. In today's lecture, we're going to be exploring a really fascinating and frankly fundamental concept in strategic business decision-making, game theory. Now, this isn't about playing games in the traditional sense. It's about understanding the high-stakes game of business itself.
So, let's start with a foundational question, one that every single one of you will face in your careers. Let's imagine you're a senior executive at a major corporation. You're considering a big move, maybe a price cut or a major product launch. In a vacuum, the decision seems straightforward, right? But your rival is out there watching you. What they do in response to your move can completely change the outcome. So, how do you make the best call? That's the puzzle we're here to unravel. To answer that question, we first need to understand the environment we're operating in. I want you to stop thinking of it as just a marketplace. From now on, let's call it the competitive arena, because that's exactly what it is.
And here's the fundamental rule of that arena. You are never, ever operating alone. Your success isn't just about how great your product is or how brilliant your marketing is. It's inextricably linked to the choices that your competitors, your suppliers, and even your customers are making. It's an interconnected web. The formal term for this, and this is a key piece of terminology for this course, is strategic interaction. Let's be very clear about what this means. If you're deciding how to make your own production line more efficient, that's an internal problem. But if you're deciding whether to build a massive new factory, well, that's a strategic interaction. Why? Because the success of that factory, whether it becomes a huge profit center or a massive liability, depends entirely on whether your main competitor decides to build one too. You see the difference? One decision is isolated. The other is part of a game.
So if we accept that business is a series of these strategic interactions, how do we analyze them? How do we get an advantage? Well, for that, we need a new tool in our analytical toolkit.
And that tool is game theory. At its heart, game theory is a formal framework. It gives us a structured, mathematical way to model these competitive situations. Think of it as creating a map of the entire game. It helps us identify the players, list all the possible moves they can make, and, crucially, calculate the potential payoffs for every single combination of those moves. Now, I want you to look very closely at this quote. There's one word here that is absolutely critical, and it's optimize. Game theory is not a crystal ball. It won't tell you with 100% certainty what your competitor is going to do. What it will do is help you find the optimal strategy for you, assuming that your competitor is also rational and trying to make the best possible decision for themselves. It's about finding your best move in response to their best move. Okay, that's the theory. But how does this work in the real world? Let's deconstruct the process and turn this from an abstract idea into a practical, step-by-step method you can apply. Here it is. This is the core process. First, you analyze. You systematically map out the game. Who are the players? What are their options? What are the outcomes? Second, you anticipate. You have to step into your competitor's shoes. What are their goals? What pressures are they under? What move makes the most sense for them? And third, based on that anticipation, you optimize. You choose the strategy that gives you the best possible outcome given their likely response. Analyze, anticipate, optimize. And this right here, this represents a critical shift in thinking that I want all of you to internalize. Traditional business planning is often a monologue. It asks, what is the best action for us? It's very internally focused. Game theory, on the other hand, forces you into a dialogue. It demands you ask a much more sophisticated question. What is the best action for us to take given what our competitors are likely to do in response? You see, it's moving from a simple action to a strategic action and reaction mindset. Now, a word of warning. One of the most common mistakes I see, both from students in case studies and from actual companies, is forgetting this. They get so focused on their own costs, their own market, their own plans, that they completely ignore the game being played around them. And that is a very, very expensive mistake. Let's look at some of these specific pitfalls, because I guarantee you'll encounter them. The biggest one, number one, is just assuming your competitor will do nothing. That's almost never true. Another huge error is failing to really think about their goals. Are they trying to maximize this quarter's profit, or are they playing a long game for market share? Your optimal strategy changes completely depending on that answer. You simply cannot make decisions based only on your own spreadsheets while ignoring the rest of the board. So let's bring it all home. Let's talk about why this is such an indispensable tool for you as a future business leader. What is the practical value here? And here it is. Look, anyone can come up with a plan, but a true strategist develops an optimized strategy. What does that mean? It means your strategy is robust, it's resilient, It's the move that gives you the best possible outcome, even when your competitor is smart and makes their best move. It's about preparing for a skilled opponent, not just hoping they make a mistake.
Okay, so let's recap the core principles from today's lecture. These are the points I want you to carry forward. First, business is a system of strategic interactions. Second, your decisions are never made in isolation. You must account for competitors. Third, game theory is the analytical framework for this process. Fourth, your goal is to optimize your strategy, not just make a plan. And finally, and maybe most importantly, this whole framework is designed to help you turn the chaos of market uncertainty into clear, calculated risk. As we conclude, I want you to think about this. The next time you read a business news story about a price war between two retail giants or two tech companies launching competing products, I want you to see it through this new lens. Don't just see it as an event, see it as a game unfolding. Ask yourself, who are the players? What are their possible strategies? And based on what you know now, what's your opening move?